All right. So, what you guys are doing is you're going to be creating what's called an infographic. An infographic is kind of like a poster or a one pager. It's kind of similar in that you're putting all your information kind of on one page. It's just called an infographic, not a one pager. And so what you guys are going to be doing is you're making an infographic about solutions and kind of how they're related to our topic of stoichiometry, since that's what we spent last week talking about. So I'm going to kind of go to the actual assignment and we can look at it and kind of talk about what do you need to include, what's it going to look like, all that stuff. So these are your instructions. So when you log into the assignment on Canvas, it goes over exactly kind of what you need to include. So it says you're creating an infographic page for the solutions topic, and that's that part 3 of the stoichiometric relationships that we did last week. It says below are the subtopics for solutions that we covered. So we talked about kind of the basics. So at the very beginning, there was information about kind of like what are solutions. So kind of the definitions of terms like what's the solution, what's the solute, what's the solvent, and like how do you make a solution. So all that kind of basic stuff at the beginning kind of fits into kind of sort of one subtopic. We talked about the different units of volume because we needed to possibly convert between them. So, if they give me cubic centimeters, I need to know that I need to convert it to cubic decimeters before I put it into a calculation. So just talking about those different units of volume and how to convert between them, because you may have to do that. In fact, you usually do have to do that on problems. We talked about concentration, and we talked about these kind of 3 different ways to calculate concentration. So the main one that we will be using is this first one, molar concentration, which is also called molarity. But we also did talk about how to do the concentration by mass instead of using moles. And then also that third one, parts per million. So you can kind of, talk about all 3 or give information about all 3. But really the molar concentration is really the most important one, because that's the one that we're going to use most often in our class for calculations and things like that. And so then that leads to the next kind of subtopic, which is using that molar concentration to do stoichiometry problems that involve solutions. Because remember, we looked at the fact that we can use molar concentration as a conversion factor if we need to convert from like volume of a solution to something else in a chemical reaction. So a lot of times some of our reactants will not be solids or gases, they'll be solutions. And so we start with the volume of the solution, and then we use the molar concentration to convert from the volume to moles. And then you can use your mole ratio to convert from moles of your known to moles of your unknown. And then whatever unit you're wanting to solve for, if you're solving for mass, or if you're solving for volume of another solution, or volume of a gas, or particles, you can use whichever conversion factor you need for that last part, depending on what the problem's asking for. But just kind of showing how molar concentration can be used as that conversion factor if we have solutions in a stoichiometry problem. And then the last thing is kind of what we talked about on Thursday last week, and that's the titrations. So kind of the things maybe you need to include about titrations is kind of, well, what is it? Okay. How are they performed? Because remember, that's a lab technique. So, what do you do for a titration? And then once you've done the titration, then what do you do afterwards? Okay. So how do you do the calculation based on your measurements after you've done a titration in the lab? Okay. So there's kind of 5 subtopics here. If you see, there's kind of 5 bullet points. A couple of them, have I put kind of more expanded information sort of to help guide you what you need to include in it. But really there's 5 sort of main subtopics on here. Right here, it gives you some online resources to use. You can do this on paper if you'd rather do it on paper and then just submit a photo or a scan of it. However, I'm going to show you guys just a little bit, some examples of you doing a infographic digitally using Canva or Piktochart. And then there's one that used Google Slides. They use PowerPoint or Google Slides. So I would highly encourage you to try to investigate some of these options, because a lot of them, like Canva and Piktochart, if you have not used them for another class, they actually have templates on the website. So I'm going to click on Canva and we'll kind of look at a couple. So they have Canva and Piktochart are both websites where you can create digital media type things. So Canva, there's a lot of different things you can do, not just infographics. Like you can do social media icons, you can do presentations, brochures. There's all kinds of stuff that they have. But the good thing is they have a lot of templates. So, and a lot of them are free, okay? So like if, you don't have to pay, like right now it says, oh, Canva Pro, but I'm just going to exit out, right? Because I can go over here to templates and I can kind of hover or click here, and there's all these different categories. So like I said, you can make tons of stuff, invitations, cards, logos, business cards. But right here under marketing, oh, where'd it go? Go back. Under marketing is where you're going to find the templates for an infographic, which is what you guys are doing. So the reason that this is a good resource to use is because they have pre-made templates that you can start with that and then just edit it and fill in your information and your examples and your images. So if I click here on infographic, it's going to take me to the section and it's going to show me all the different templates they have for an infographic. Now, some of them are not free, so you make sure you pick one that's free so it doesn't try to charge you or get you to buy something. But there are a lot of different ones on here, and depending on how you want it to look or how you're trying to present your information. So these are all some of the different templates that you could potentially use, okay? Just depending on what you want to do and how you want to present it. And then here you can even sort, like if I want to look for a specific color scheme, like I don't know, okay? Like right now it's set on multicolor, but like maybe I only want to look for like ones that have a blue or a lot of blue. Okay, so it's not finding one that's like all blue. Let's try pink. So there's one where it's like the background's like mostly pink. If I do purple, now see turquoise. There's a lot that have kind of this turquoisey color in them. There's a lot that have red. Okay, so you can do whatever color you want. I don't really care. But there's a lot of templates on here that are already kind of set up. And so then you can just click on them and then you can edit and put in, like I said, your information, your images, whatever it is that you need to do. Or right here, you can create a blank one. If you are feeling more confident, you can start from scratch and like put your own background in and your own colors. But if it's your first time using this, then you might want to use one of these templates as a guide at first until you get a little bit more comfortable with something like this. The other one that I mentioned is this Piktochart. So Piktochart's similar to Canva, except Piktochart only really focuses on doing infographics. So it doesn't have like all those different options on the menu like Canva does. So, here it says you're all-in-one visual content maker. And so I can go here to create, and here's infographics. Okay, there's a few other options similar to Canva, but not as many. I can go to the infographics section and it says I can create, and so here I can see again, here's a lot of probably some of the options they're going to have, and again there's a lot that are free, but there are some that probably cost, so just don't click on any of the ones that cost money. Okay. But the reason that these are good, and I'm going to show you why, is because I had my 10th grade chemistry students, the advanced chemistry students, they did a similar project like this over electrons a few weeks ago. And so this is somebody who they used Canva, and this is what they ended up with. So, I can see here's their title, it's electrons. Here's their subtopic. They're going to talk about the Bohr model. Here's their information. They have an image that's labeled. It kind of tells me what's going on here. Then they have an orbital diagram. So here's the next subtopic. So I can clearly see this is the title of the subtopic. Here's an image, and here's the text to kind of go with it. Here's the next subtopic, the electron configuration. Here's the information about it. They have a little example of it here. And then they have the Lewis dot diagram. Here's the information, and they have visuals. Okay. So it's all kind of on one page, and it's really, nicely put together. I don't know if she used a template or if she put this together herself, because some of the background, it doesn't look like in some of the templates on there. But she did use Canva to do this. Let's see. This one used Piktochart, and you can tell because it has the little thing here at the bottom, the little car mark. But this one, again, I can see here's the title. Like I'm going to be reading about electrons. She has little images on here that relate to electrons. And then I can tell that she has 4 subtopics because it's easily labeled. Whereas even if she didn't have these labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, it would still be really easy to tell because of the way it's organized. Okay. She's got kind of it's kind of sectioned into quadrants. She has the titles. They all look similar. There's information about each one, and then each one has a visual kind of to go with it to show what it's talking about. And she has kind of, you know, a little summary up here under the title, and then at the bottom, again, there's another little thing about they're all different, but they represent electrons. So these are a couple examples that I know that obviously the content is different, but this is sort of what you're going for in your presentation. You don't have to use those two though. You could also use Google Slides or Prezi. I will caution you though, if you use Google Slides or Prezi or PowerPoint instead of Google Slides, it's only one slide, okay? Because it's like a poster. It's not multiple slides. It's not a presentation, okay? And so here's an example. This person used Google Slides, okay? So it downloaded as a PowerPoint. But, you know, again, I can still see it's other than kind of this text being a little bit off right down here in this box. This looks really good. It's organized really well. They have their topic, their title up here and kind of a summary of it. They have their 4 subtopics. They have information. They have a visual that's kind of labeled for each one. So you don't have to use Canva or Piktochart. You can just do something as simple as Google slide. You just have to take a little time with it, you know. So they created like some little text bubbles and color coded them and organized it so that it's labeled and it's easy to find the information. And that's what you really want, okay? It says down here that you want to have your information easy to find. So we're going to go through that in a second. So however you do it, you're going to upload your file or the image or the link to the infographic when you submit it. And there is a little video here that explains the different types of infographics. There's 7 common ones in this video. You can pick the one, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play this really quick so we can see all 7 of them. I'm not going to play the whole thing.
So you have your idea, you've done your research, and you've collected your data. You're probably wondering what type of infographic design will best represent and communicate your information. As you think about your infographic design.
Okay, so these 7 that are on here are kind of common forms. Now, these are not all of the forms, okay? But you have like a list, a comparison, so a versus, if you're comparing 2 or 3 different things maybe, a flow chart, a visual article, a map, a timeline, and a data visualization. I will tell you some of the ones that probably won't apply to you. We're not really doing a comparison. We're not comparing 2 or 3 different things. We're not doing a map or a timeline where this is not history or geography. This topic would not, you know, relate to that. Data visualization, that's more like if you collected data or you did surveys and you want to present the information to somebody. So that really doesn't apply to us either in this situation. So that leaves us with list, flowchart, and visual article. And flowchart's really where you're showing sort of how things are related and connected. That one probably wouldn't really apply to us. And list is not really giving you enough information. So probably the most likely one that you're going to look at is this visual article, because we're trying to inform people about solutions and give them the information, and also provide like some visual images about like what do solutions look like, what does it look like in a math problem, that kind of stuff. So I've actually given you an example of 2 different ones. I gave you a visual article and also a comparison just so you can see that they still have all the same components, even though they're set up a little differently. And so you need to have all the components that are marked on these examples. So I'm going to go down here. There's all these little plus signs that you can go back and look at later if you want to. And so, for example, if I click here on this one, it says that you need to have a title, and it should be large, easy to find, and easy to read, okay? So, like, I can read this, and it says crime scene chemistry, fingerprint detection. So that it's very large, it's easy to find, and it tells me exactly what I'm going to be reading about in this infographic. I'm going to be reading about how to detect fingerprints using chemistry in crime scenes, okay? And then they have kind of a little, you know, summary, a sentence or 2 underneath it just to kind of tell you a little bit more about what you're going to be looking at. Over here, I have my subtopics. So subtopics, you're using headers, images, anything else to kind of clearly show the different subtopics within your major topic. So your major topic is solutions, and those subtopics are those 5 bullets that I told you up at the top, okay? And so when my other class did electrons, one of their subtopics was orbital diagrams. for you guys, y'all are doing solutions. So one of your subtopics is concentration, and you're going to talk about the different ways that you can, what is concentration and how do you calculate the different ways, okay? If you were looking at this, how many subtopics do you think that this infographic has? Just looking at it. What do you guys think?
8.
No, not that many.
Is it 5?
It's 5. I would say it's 5 because it's this heading right here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they have this 5th one kind of over here that's kind of vertical. So these other ones, these are kind of like within the subtopic. So you can tell that their font's a little bit smaller and the background color is a little bit different because it's within the topic or the subtopic, I mean. So this is, I can pretty clearly tell that there's like 5 subtopics within my main topic of fingerprint detection. And so yours will be, you know, you're also going to have 5 subtopics. You don't have to organize yours the same way as this, but I should be able to clearly find where are your 5 subtopics, okay? You should have images. So, and they need to be relevant pictures that help explain the topic. Don't distract from your message. So, for example, when my students were working on electrons, you saw on all the examples that their pictures were all related to their subtopics. They had pictures of atoms or electrons, and then in the subtopics, they had pictures of what those different things looked like. So you guys should have things related to solutions or related to concentration or related to titrations or whichever subtopic you're working on, okay? You also want to have text. So you guys saw on all the examples I showed you that there was text underneath every subtopic that explained what that subtopic was about. So you want to make sure that you're typing it in your own words. You can reference the internet, but you should not just be copying and pasting information directly from the internet or your notes. You want to make sure it's written in your own words. And I will tell you, it's usually pretty obvious when you guys just copy and paste stuff, because a lot of times I'm like, there's no way that they would say this. Okay. And the thing here is this last sentence. You want to make it, or this next to last sentence, you want to make it reader friendly. So think about like you're making this, pretend you're making this infographic like for your parents or your English teacher or somebody who has no idea about solutions in chemistry. So don't think you're making it for me. Okay, I'm grading it, but like I know about solutions. I don't need to read an infographic to learn about them. So think about you're making it for somebody who doesn't know about solutions and how they relate to, you know, chemistry and stoichiometry. And so that this last sentence, your purpose is to inform new readers. So that's what you're going with here. You're trying to inform people who don't know about this topic a little bit about what it's about. Okay. And then kind of there's one more little plus sign here. This is for your images. A lot of times it helps to have a short image description next to or underneath your image, just to kind of clarify, like, why is it here? Okay, why did you put this image here? What's the purpose of it? So if sometimes in your text, if you refer to the image in your text, then you don't need to necessarily have a caption. But if you don't specifically mention that image in your text, you know, like sometimes you might have to say, and you'll say, and in the image above, you can see, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't have something like that, then you might want to have a caption with your image. Like this one, it has these pictures of elements. It says pigments, and then it's got carbon, aluminum, zinc, and copper. And the little caption here, it says it includes aluminum, zinc, copper powders, and colloidal carbon. And they're telling you that the pigments include, the reason they have these images of these element symbols is because those are the elements that are included in the pigments that they use to make these fingerprint powders, okay? So that's kind of an example. The other one, if you go over here, this one is showing you a comparison, which we're not really going to use this type of infographic because you're not comparing things, but it's on here just to show you that like all these parts are still here. There's still a title that's clear to read and easy to find. I can still see there's images that are relevant, because if I look, you know, the health one, it's got bad health or bad posture, it's got kind of an X. Good health, it's got the, you know, the little plus sign that you relate to kind of like doctors and nurses. On feelings, the part's broken for the bad side. It's got a regular heartbeat on the good side. Communication, you're not really communicating. It's got the little megaphone, but nothing's coming out. Over here, it is communicating. I can see the little lines coming out. Appearance, it's got the camera with the line through it versus this one's not. And then also the colors that they use. Everything on the bad posture side is red. Everything on the good posture side is green. And if you even notice in the title, the A, it has little devil horns, and the O has like a halo on it. So all of their little imagery, visual things relate to their topics or what they're showing. Even the guys, their clothing is the same color as the side that they're on. Okay. They have their subtopics on this one. There's 4 subtopics. There's health, feel, communication, and appearance, and then they just compare them for each one. There is text here with all the subtopics again. And so you can see all the same general parts are there, even though the setup of the infographic is a lot different. So you guys, again, you're not doing a comparison, but I wanted to show you a different one so that you could see that even though they're different setups, all the same parts are there. Okay. And then the last thing is there is a rubric down below that shows you kind of how you're going to be graded. So if you want to make sure you're referring to that. And then this is going to be counted as one of our test grades, a major grade for this 6 weeks. And you have this week to complete it. It's going to be due on Friday night at right before midnight. Okay. And then the rubric down here, you can kind of see that. So here's your criteria, the main topic. So to get full points, the full 3 marks, the main topic or title, it's clear and easy to identify, and it's complemented by appropriate images or text to introduce the readers to the topic, or the topic to readers. So if notice here on 2 points, the main topic title is clear and easy to identify. So if your title is clear and easy to identify, okay, you're going to get 2 points. But if it's not complemented by all the images and text, then it's not going to get you the full marks. Okay. Your subtopics, all subtopics are present and easy to identify. Images and visual media, all your images and visual media used represent the information appropriately. So notice that if you're just sticking random pictures on there, but some of them don't really relate, you're only going to get it here into that 2-point range, not the 3-point. Your information, all your information, this is like your text and your other information. It's present, clear, and it supports either your overall main topic of solutions or it supports the subtopic that it's in. Okay. And then the last 2 kind of have to do with like mechanics type stuff. So you got grammar and spelling. So you want to make sure you have little to no grammatical mistakes or spelling errors. So make sure you're proofreading things, or maybe have a friend look over it and say, hey, you find any mistakes? Let me know. And then your design layout. So this is kind of the visuals, the aesthetics. So, it's neat, it's clear, it's visually appealing. Like I can find the information, it's organized well, it looks nice, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So that's kind of all the main parts that you will be graded on that rubric. Okay. Do you guys have any questions at this moment right now about this? Oh, okay. I wanted to show you. I do have a couple more examples I was going to show you. This one's another one. I think this one's also from Canva, but I can still see, I can see there's my title. Here's my subtopics. There's text and images to go with them. Okay. So that's another good one. And then this one, I still haven't gotten an answer for how they made this one. I don't know if they did Canva or if they used something else, but this one's like actually it's like animated. It's like a little 5-second video. So this one, though, I will say, it's as cool as it is that it's animated. I will say there are too many images on this one. Like this one is almost like a little too distracting with images. So don't go crazy on your images. Like you can make it nice without like overdoing it. Okay. All right. So if you guys don't have questions, let me open back up here. Oop.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What website was that with the picture you showed us that was like kind of color coded?